Hello and welcome to Heavy Metal Rex. My name is Oasis, and today we're going to talk about something that every new car owner that wants to tune their car is worried about, and that is your warranty. So I know the question has come up a lot, especially with COP coming out fairly quickly after the car was released, and all these multitude of aftermarket parts being available. You got intakes, you got J-pipes, charge pipes, all this stuff. Does all that stuff void your warranty? Will you have warranty troubles if you put mods on this car, or for the most part, any car? The short answer is yes, it will. Anyway, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. What are you doing? You're still here? That's the answer. That's it. It's done. If you're worried about your warranty, don't mod the car. That's it. What else is there to say? Well, I guess we can talk about it. There's definitely a couple of things, some caveats and some disclaimers that need to be said. No one's going to be able to tell you for a fact what's going to void your warranty and what isn't going to void your warranty, because technically the warranty itself isn't voided. The warranty is still there. This car, you can put every part you can think of on this car and the warranty will still technically be there. What we can talk about is things that a dealer or Subaru of America or any other company can say no to. Let's say, for example, you have a car that's modded with XYZ and you bring it in. It's their discretion to say, we're not going to do warranty work because XYZ has been changed and XYZ is the reason we believe that your car broke. Now that's a complicated process. And if you go on Reddit, you will find tons and tons of anecdotal information on people saying, oh, well, I tuned my car and I took it to the mechanic or the dealership and they did all the warranty work. And on the flip side, you'll see people say, well, I had a COP tune and I took my car to the dealership and they denied doing any warranty work and I had to pay for it out of pocket. So what I've done is I've compiled a couple of things that pop up right now, both on Facebook, Reddit, YouTube, people that ask me, even I've asked different tuners on Tuner Talk on what exactly it is that are things that you should worry about. Like I said in the beginning, the asterisk here is pretty much everything. But I know that's not going to deter you from modding, and as you can see, it sure as hell didn't deter me. But the question still comes up, especially on Facebook. Hey, I just bought this car, I want to buy this. Will it void my warranty, or will I have warranty issues? Let's go through some of these things. The very basic one. This is in contrast to what COB is, or in this case, tuning your car, is JB4 versus COB. There are tons and tons of examples in the BMW community and in the Volkswagen community of people putting a JB4 on their car. It is a piggyback system, which means it actually doesn't modify anything long-term in your car, and they were able to remove said item, take the car to the dealership, and actually get warranty work done. Now, your mileage obviously may vary, but if you're really that worried about your warranty on this, JB4 is available for the 2022 WRX, so that may be an option for you to kind of play around with your car on the weekends, and if something goes wrong, kind of have some peace of mind. Because in contrast, if you do use COB or any OTS tunes, or you do any flashing of the ECU, they will, if you take this car to the dealership, they have the ability to see that it has been flashed. At this time, there's really nothing you can do about it. I have heard people ask questions like, oh, well, I'll just buy a backup ECU. I don't think that's going to work. I don't know the exact reasons as to why, but I would imagine, much like a firmware, much like a BIOS chip on a motherboard on a computer, there are certain hardware attributes that are specifically linked to that chip that you may not be able to just put in a different one to make it work. I would imagine that since everybody tells me cars are like computers, that there is some overlap there. So you may not be able to do that. So that's something that that's going to be an issue. And I've heard people say, well, I've taken my car to the dealership, it was tuned, and then now in their database they have it flagged as a tuned car. I can't confirm that's happened because it hasn't happened to me. This is only things that I've read on Reddit and I've read on Facebook. It is something to worry about. From there on, you have all of your hard parts. Pretty much, I want to say, if you install anything on this car without a tune, obviously you have the ability to put the stock part back on and take it to the dealership. I imagine that they wouldn't know. You know, like, we'll take the Perrin intake for an example. Right now, the Perrin intake is, for all intents and purposes, independently tested as well to be safe to run on your stock WRX. Graham has confirmed that from Boosted Performance. A couple of other tuners online have also confirmed it. And, of course, Perrin confirms it himself. Independent tuning and independent testing is always going to be the better answer here, and in this case you can run it. So let's say you do install that intake, you get your whoosh whoosh noises or whatever, and something happens. Let's say something has nothing to do with the intake itself, and you do now need to take the car to warranty work. And when I say warranty work, I don't mean like your radio blowing out or like your seat breaking. Those things, warranty work that has nothing to do with the engine is going to be irrelevant in this conversation, because they're going to warranty it because it has nothing to do with the engine. What we're talking about here is you putting on that intake, doing no tunes, just leaving it, having some weird thing happen to your engine, whatever it is. You know, theoretically, you should be able to take that intake off, put the stock intake on, and go in. They're really, I mean, unless you just left parts out, you know, there's no, I can't imagine there being a way of knowing that something had been changed. Same thing goes for charge pipes, same thing goes for intercoolers, which again, these parts, there's no reason to install these parts without a tune because they're not doing much for you other than you just spending a lot of money to replace them. But I imagine replacing them without a tune, you should then be able to take everything off and put it back on. Now, this brings up another question. Let's say your car breaks. Let's say you have a Perrin intake on, or any other intake really, that is safe for stock, and your car breaks down in the, like on the middle of the highway. Like, unless you are driving around with your stock intake in your trunk, that's really not gonna do you much good. So that's something to think about, you know? Even though you, I guess, have the ability to tow the car home, put the stock intake on and call the dealership to come get it. I don't know. I can't even conceive of the ways that you could try to do this without having a tune and trying to put stock parts back on, because then you have things like your jpipe. You know, jpipe is something that, again, you shouldn't really use without a tune. I mean, I guess theoretically you could. You could use all of these parts without a tune, but it's really not recommended. And again, taking it off and putting the stock jpipe back on, you should be able to get warranty work done. Now there are a couple of things that don't affect the warranty game that you can do without having to worry about it, without having to worry about the car. Generally speaking, anything that increases your performance in the engine or changes the way that air is brought in and sent out, that usually will require a tune, is going to be an issue for your warranty. Your dealership is going to look at it, and if something in the engine does break, there is a potential possibility that they can say, oh, that's why it did it, and you put that in there, and so why should we pay for the mistake that you made, right? That's where it comes down to. Of course, there are things you can put on that are not performance related, but add the fun value that really shouldn't have any issue, and some dealerships will even tell you they don't have any issue with that with warranty, and that's things like axle backs. Axle back is basically what most people will refer to as a muffler delete from the axle and back, just like the muffler areas. Replace those, really not a big deal. Most dealerships, hell, they even offer that from the dealer. I know WX does have the STI axle back. Actually, I think it's a full catback. I can't remember it is, but it's just like smaller mufflers. But you know, you can install that, no problem. Nobody's gonna hassle you about warranty if your car comes in or something happens to your engine. Nobody's gonna care. Catbacks is a really gray area right now because I know some dealerships that I've spoken to say they don't have a problem with that. But 2 other dealerships here in St. Louis I've talked to about it, and they say, yes, if you have a catback, that is something that they feel is enough of a change that if something goes wrong with your engine, they could potentially point to that. Now, when they say they weren't 100% clear if it was Subaru of America or the dealership themselves. So something to think about. A couple other things like catch cans and AOS. As far as I know, talking to my dealership and another dealership, they don't have a problem with catch cans and AOS because it's not changing the actual engine itself. If anything, it's just a secondary preventative measure, reliability measure, and they don't have a problem with that. Of course, your mileage, again, like with all of the things that I'm saying here, will vary depending on the dealer that you take or that you take it to. Graham actually, on one of the tuner talks, I asked him about warranty and reliability, and one thing that he said, which was really interesting, is, and I'll try to find that clip so I can play it for you as well.
Usually a good clue to finding those dealerships is finding the ones that frequently sell WRXs or STIs, you know, when STIs were a thing. If you find a dealer that moves a high volume of the new WRXs and like really promotes them and tries to sell them, and like, you know, the service advisor drives one himself, go in there and feel out the dealership and see if they really care about the performance models, right? If they're a dealership that sells 1 WRX a month and sells 100 Outbacks a month, they're going to be the type that's going to give you a harder time.
Yeah.
That's a clue right there. Go look at the guys that work there. Look at how they are. Look at what they drive. You know, consider their personalities. It all ties back in together with how they're going to be as a dealer.
I actually have not really looked into which dealerships in St. Louis are like that. And then maybe something that I can put together for myself and bring that information to you guys. Another part is suspension bits. This is also really tricky because if you do change your shocks, you know, put on coilovers and things like that, and something does happen to adjoining parts of the suspension, there could potentially be an argument that, hey, you know, this thing broke because it was out of OE spec. That's kind of a fair thing to assume. So again, this still comes down to the dealership and how willing they are to engage with you with your aftermarket parts. It's definitely something to think about. Same thing can be said about like shifter bits. I know in order to install a shift plate, you have to remove the OE shift plate, you know, to do the bushing in the back. If you want to do a short throw shifter in the actual cabin, all these things, you know, you are opening the car and you are replacing it. Now, to be fair, again, another thing that no one's going to void your warranty. And then this is what I'm trying to make sure I don't say. They can just say, hey, this thing that you changed, and when it's breaking, the reason it broke is because of you. So something you need to think about. Now, all these things combined, none of this stuff is going to void your warranty. You really need to decide for yourself if you are willing to spend the money, spend the time to change these parts. If you bought this car and you bought most of the sports cars, chances are you're going to fiddle around with it. You do have a 36,000 mile warranty. Some people like to wait till the end of that warranty is done and then just kind of do whatever they want. Some people, like myself and many others, have pretty much modded it from the day that they've purchased the vehicle. And there's no wrong answer here. If you have a good support system in your city where you can take your car in case something happens that's not the dealership and kind of work with them, or if you have access to parts, or or you're just a really good mechanic at home, you know, modding your car early and not worrying about warranty, that's something that you can do. If you don't have that, you don't have, you know, extra money saved up in case something does happen, then maybe you wait. You know, maybe you wait a little bit, you know, halfway through your warranty or end of your warranty. If you've got an extended warranty and you're really worried about that, I mean, I know Subaru sells like the 10-year extended warranty. I think it's important to remember that the warranty is covering the whole car. I know most of the time people aren't worried about things like their side mirrors falling off or the trunk latch is not working or like other weird things. They're only worried about the most important part of the car, which is the engine and everything related to that. And that's fair. But at the same time, you know, other things can break in the car. So your warranty isn't just completely gone. Your radio brakes, they got it covered. You know, your steering wheel doesn't do steering wheel things, they've got it covered. It's still a really difficult conversation to have, and not a lot of people want to have it because, no, again, coming back to what I said in the beginning, there's no definitive way to say what's going to happen to you when you take this car to the dealership. Even my own dealership, when my 2021 WRX was tuned, I drove it to the dealership all the time. And I have a good relationship with my salesperson and the staff over there, and they all knew that the car was modified. There was no way around it. The damn thing, you could hear it a mile away. And I'm sure that they had some, some record that it was, but at the same time, almost every single person at that dealership drove a modded WRX or an SCI that they bought from that dealership. And some even older. You know, we're talking the technicians, we're talking the salespeople, the sales manager. You know, there is an understanding of this car and performance variants of other vehicles and other makes and models that people kind of know that if somebody's going to buy it, it's going to be modded. You know, this kind of reminds me of when I don't know if it was the BRZ or the GR86, when it first came out, they were tuning it as like, you know, great track vehicle, and somebody actually blew their engine on the track. I want to say maybe it was autocross. I'll actually try to pull up the article and post it in here. And I believe it was Toyota, and they didn't want to warranty the engine. And after much conversation, and like when I say conversation, internet conversation, they finally ended up doing it because it looked bad from a marketing standpoint and a PR standpoint. So there are exceptions to all of this, but really, this is a long video to basically tell you got to pay to play. And that's really it. No one's really going to be able to tell you exactly what's going to happen with your car. So even I'm not telling you that this is definitively what's going to happen. It's just some things that could be an issue and some things that could not be an issue. If you end up going to the dealership and you have some of these parts, please tell me how it went. Tell the whole world how it went. Add to the anecdotal stories that are already out there, just so people have at least something to pull from. Anyway, I hope this video was somewhat informative, and I hope that it helps you with your decision on what you want to do. And at the end of the day, this is a pretty stout car. Light mods, I really don't see there being an issue. Just make sure you get a tune. Anyway, guys, I will see you in the next one.